Have you ever felt a burning desire to master something, yet regardless of who you consulted or which program you enrolled in, the information simply never took root? Perhaps you attempted learning through literature, but the text felt hollow and meaningless. Perhaps you discovered specialists, but their guidance never clicked with you. Or perhaps you hopped between instructor after instructor, seminar after seminar, constantly seeking, yet never discovering what your soul truly craved. If you've experienced the frustration of feeling like proper mentorship is perpetually beyond your grasp, this narrative will reveal. Because there exists a timeless wisdom that most individuals realize far too late. The mentor doesn't manifest when you desire them. They emerge when you've become prepared. Stay with me through to the conclusion. This revelation might transform how you perceive every challenge you've encountered. In a thriving metropolis where everyone appeared to be sprinting toward achievement, there existed a 26-year-old individual named Daniel. Daniel possessed intelligence, drive, and an insatiable appetite for learning. But above all else, he yearned to become proficient in the craft of entrepreneurship, to construct something purposeful, to generate triumph from absolutely nothing. He had devoured every publication on starting companies. His bookshelf overflowed with volumes: The Lean Startup, 0 to 1, Think and Grow Rich. He had marked crucial passages, documented insights, committed quotations to memory. But whenever he attempted to implement what he'd absorbed, nothing manifested. He participated in conferences where accomplished business owners presented. He invested in digital programs from industry authorities. He even employed a business mentor for 3 months. But every piece of guidance felt impersonal and formulaic. Every approach felt detached from his actual circumstances. The publications discussed theories, but Daniel couldn't transform them into execution. The mentors provided him structures, but something remained absent. His journal brimmed with insights from other people, but none of it resonated as his own understanding. His partner Sarah would observe him during late hours, encircled by volumes and programs, appearing more agitated than illuminated. Daniel, she would express with tenderness, "Perhaps you're pushing too intensely. Perhaps you should decelerate." But Daniel would reject this notion. "I simply need to discover the proper mentor. Someone who genuinely understands. Someone who can illuminate the path." What Daniel hadn't grasped yet was that he was seeking someone to provide him solutions, but he wasn't prepared to accept them. Following 2 years of absorbing information, Daniel concluded he was prepared. He would finally launch his enterprise. He established an internet marketplace offering artisan goods. He executed every tactic from the publications. He deployed every technique from the programs. He labored 18-hour shifts powered by caffeine and resolve. But within half a year, the venture was collapsing. Revenue was unpredictable. Vendors were inconsistent. Promotional tactics that succeeded for others crashed for him. The funds he had accumulated were depleted. The plastic debt was expanding. One frigid night in November, Daniel occupied his modest dwelling, gazing at the tower of entrepreneurship books that had guaranteed him achievement. The computer monitor illuminated his unsuccessful store's metrics. 12 website visits that day, 0 transactions. He had executed everything they instructed him to execute, and he had collapsed. For the first occasion, frustration superseded aspiration. He seized one of the volumes, a celebrated one that had motivated millions, and hurled it across the space. It struck the surface and tumbled to the ground, sheets wrinkled. "What's defective in me?" he exclaimed to the vacant room. "I absorbed everything. I studied everything. Why isn't it functioning?" Sarah discovered him that evening positioned on the ground, face buried in his palms, encircled by the volumes he previously revered. "I lack sufficient intelligence," he uttered softly. "I'm inadequate. Perhaps I'm simply not destined for this." She positioned herself beside him in quietness, uncertain what to express, because she could perceive something Daniel couldn't. He was pursuing solutions externally when the genuine issue existed internally. The following sunrise, Daniel reached a conclusion. He terminated the venture, reimbursed whatever stock he could, acknowledged the setback, but more significantly, he ceased pursuing. He discontinued purchasing programs, discontinued participating in conferences, discontinued absorbing new entrepreneurship literature. He was excessively exhausted to attempt any more, excessively shattered to pretend he possessed the solutions. And in that depleted resignation, something transformed. 3 weeks following the closure of his enterprise, Daniel was employed at a cafe to eliminate his obligations. It wasn't prestigious, but it was legitimate employment. For the first occasion in years, he wasn't contemplating tactics or structures. He was simply existing. One peaceful Tuesday midday, elderly gentleman entered, approximately in his 60s, dressed in an understated coat, holding a weathered leather journal. He requested a dark coffee and occupied the window seat. Daniel delivered him the beverage. The gentleman grinned and stated, "Appreciate it. You prepare it with intention." "I can sense it." Daniel was taken aback. "It's merely coffee," he responded. "Incorrect," the gentleman answered. "Nothing is merely anything when you invest it with focus." Something regarding the manner the gentleman communicated made Daniel hesitate. It wasn't revolutionary. It wasn't complex, but it resonated as authentic. Throughout the subsequent weeks, the gentleman became a consistent patron. Perpetually the identical location, perpetually the identical request. And gradually, they commenced conversing. His identity was Robert. He had established 3 thriving enterprises throughout his existence and withdrawn 5 years prior. But he didn't discuss his achievements. Rather, he posed questions to Daniel. "Why did you desire to establish an enterprise?" Robert inquired one afternoon. Daniel initiated with the conventional responses. To achieve success, to generate wealth, to attain independence. Robert acknowledged but remained silent. Simply observed him with patient, perceptive vision. Daniel experienced discomfort beneath that observation. So he attempted again, venturing deeper. I desired to demonstrate I possessed intelligence, that I wasn't ordinary, that I could construct something substantial. Robert expressed quietly. So, it was never regarding the enterprise. It was regarding you. The subsequent day, Robert transported 2 plants in compact containers. He positioned them on the surface between them. "Observe these," he stated. One plant exhibited lushness and vitality. The other was deteriorating, foliage discoloring. "What's the distinction?" Robert questioned. Daniel examined them. The thriving one possesses superior soil, increased hydration. "Observe more carefully," Robert prompted. Daniel recognized the thriving plant possessed deeper root systems visible through the transparent container. The deteriorating plant possessed superficial roots circulating near the top. The deteriorating plant, Robert clarified, is attempting to expand upward before it's expanded downward. It desires to be elevated before it's secure. So despite having hydration and illumination, it cannot maintain itself. He regarded Daniel. "You resembled this plant attempting to develop an enterprise before you developed yourself. Absorbing information about tactics before you comprehended your own basis. Seeking mentors to provide you elevation when you required roots." Daniel experienced something fracture within him, not agonizingly, but like frozen water fragmenting in springtime. "Every individual you absorbed from previously," Robert proceeded, "possessed genuine insight. The volumes you absorbed valuable, the programs beneficial, but you weren't prepared to accept them. You were absorbing information to evade confronting yourself. You desired someone to instruct you. Execute stages 1, 2, 3, and you'll achieve success. But authentic expertise doesn't originate from executing stages. It originates from comprehending fundamentals. And you cannot comprehend fundamentals when you're escaping from yourself." Robert reclined. "The pupil who is prepared doesn't pursue a mentor. The pupil who is prepared becomes prepared to absorb from everything. The mentor doesn't manifest from outside. The mentor was perpetually present. You simply couldn't perceive them yet. Daniel, do you comprehend why I'm conversing with you presently?" Daniel negated with his head. "Because for the first occasion since I encountered you, you're not performing. You're not attempting to captivate me with what you comprehend. You're not requesting me for the formula to achievement. You're simply present, existing, truthful about what you don't comprehend. He grinned. That's preparation, not assurance, not information. Preparation is modesty, existence, and receptiveness. When you ceased pursuing mentors, you became prepared to absorb. Following that dialogue, something altered in Daniel. Not dramatically. There was no instantaneous awakening, but delicately like vision adapting to illumination. He ceased perceiving his cafe employment as a provisional obstacle. Rather, he initiated paying focus. He recognized how certain patrons rushed inside, distracted and tense. Others arrived gradually, intentionally, relishing the instant. He witnessed which routines made the establishment operate efficiently, which minor actions made patrons revisit. He wasn't attempting to derive entrepreneurship insights anymore. He was simply recognizing. Robert persisted in visiting, but presently their dialogues were transformed. Daniel didn't inquire, "How do I achieve success?" Rather, he communicated observations. I recognized that when Maria acknowledges patrons by identity, they remain extended. Minor acknowledgement generates devotion. Robert would concur. Affirmative, presently you're absorbing not from me, from existence. Robert provided Daniel minor exercises, not entrepreneurship tactics, but existence principles. For 1 week before you communicate, hesitate for 3 seconds. Recognize the distinction. For 1 month, document one thing you collapsed at each day and what it revealed to you. Each sunrise, inquire yourself, what am I evading today? These weren't spectacular. They weren't the dramatic metamorphoses Daniel previously desired. But gradually, they constructed something substantial inside him. Half a year transpired. Daniel was still employed at the cafe, but he was transformed. More serene, more watchful, less frantic to validate himself. One afternoon, he informed Robert, "I believe I comprehend presently. All those volumes I absorbed previously, they contain the identical insight you're teaching me. But I couldn't perceive it. I was pursuing a recipe to execute, not reality to embody." Robert grinned. "And presently I'm prepared to absorb. Genuinely absorb, not to achieve success, but to evolve." "Then you're prepared," Robert stated. "I'll be departing the metropolis subsequent month, withdrawing to the shoreline. But before I depart, I desire to provide you something." He transferred Daniel his leather journal, the one he perpetually transported. "These are my documentation from 40 years in entrepreneurship. Insights I absorbed, fundamentals I uncovered, errors I committed." Daniel grasped it respectfully. "Why are you providing this to me?" "Because you're prepared to accept it. Half a year prior, you would have absorbed it pursuing shortcuts. Presently, you'll absorb it pursuing insight. The journal hasn't altered. You have." 2 years subsequently, Daniel initiated another enterprise. This occasion he didn't execute a recipe. He implemented fundamentals. When obstacles emerged, and they did, he didn't become frantic or pursue solutions outside. He hesitated, witnessed, adapted. The venture expanded consistently, not dramatically, but reliably because it was constructed on a substantial basis. An individual who had evolved roots before extending for elevation. Individuals commenced requesting Daniel for guidance. "How did you execute it? Who instructed you?" He would grin and contemplate Robert. "I possessed an exceptional mentor, but I only discovered him when I ceased pursuing. My friend, perhaps you're pursuing the proper mentor presently. The proper guide, the proper program, the proper volume that will finally decode everything for you. But here's what Daniel absorbed and what I desire you to comprehend. The mentor doesn't manifest when you frantically desire them. They manifest when you're prepared to accept them. And preparation isn't regarding possessing sufficient information. It's regarding possessing sufficient modesty, sufficient existence, sufficient authenticity with yourself. Initially, every mentor you've encountered possessed something to instruct you. If you didn't absorb, it wasn't because they collapsed. It was because you weren't prepared yet. And that's acceptable. Subsequently, preparation signifies you cease performing, cease attempting to captivate, cease pursuing the subsequent formula. You become existing with where you are, truthful about what you don't comprehend. Thirdly, when you're genuinely prepared, mentors are omnipresent. In volumes you've already absorbed, in encounters you're experiencing presently, in collapses you're evading. The insight was perpetually present. You simply couldn't perceive it yet. So, if you're pursuing guidance presently, attempt this. Cease absorbing for 1 week. No new volumes, no new programs, no new audio content. Rather, exist with what you already comprehend. Document on this inquiry. What am I evading by perpetually pursuing new information? Be ruthlessly truthful. The response will reveal to you what you need to become prepared. Because here's the magnificent reality. You don't need to discover the flawless mentor. You need to become the flawless pupil. And the flawless pupil is simply someone who is prepared, modest, existing, and receptive. If this narrative assisted you perceive something you needed to perceive, distribute it with someone who's still pursuing. Because occasionally the proper message at the proper moment can transform everything. Until we reconvene, remember, cease pursuing outside. Initiate evolving inside. The mentor will manifest when you're prepared, and you're closer to prepared than you believe. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our future content. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment below telling us about your own journey of readiness. And remember to like this video if it resonated with you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.